This is Wandering Universe. Welcome to my final video on part 3 of this series. Today, I'll be exploring the myth of Ophir, taking you on a journey to the land called Down Under that will reveal fascinating clues that will leave you breathless. So, let's go exploring. Yes, boys and girls, we're going on a journey back to Down Under once again, in search of this glorious gold mine supposedly located in a town called Ophir, if it ever existed. According to the Old Testament, it only mentioned the word Ophir once, in reference to a local tribe, nothing more. So, turf that quote out the window. However, in the Kings section of the Bible, it goes on in great length, yabbing on about a once mighty and powerful king who ruled Judea and other parts of the Arabian world. Yep, you guessed it, King Solomon. So, what is the big deal about this man? To Kath and Kim, it's a fantastic conversation starter over a bottle of shardy and scoffing down Tim Tams for breakfast. Don't know how to start a conversation? Try these. And Kath would be drooling all over him, calling him a great big hunk of spunk. He was massive, brutal, handsome, and rough around the edges type of bloke. This king made a massive fortune forming a mining corporation, digging up for this precious metal. It made him king of the world as soon as his father, David, surrendered his title for his son. Solomon was a proud man, and a spiteful one at times. He made Judea and the Arabian Empire great again by introducing commercial trade deals through political maneuvering, campaigning himself as the champion of global partnerships like Egypt, Palestine, Arabia, Greece, and so on. He filled his beautiful palace with gold and other gemstones like diamonds that sparkled glee to his eye. He had an entourage, housekeeping staff, groundskeepers, gardeners, landscapers, kitchen staff, heavyweight security boys, and most of all, a place to call home. He certainly was king of the world. What more could a man like him ask for? But something was missing. He had no one in his life to share his massive fortune with, so he opted to stretch out his wings and go looking for a bride on the other side of the Red Sea. Out of all the countries he ruled and conquered, she had to walk into his. Yes, this sultry woman burnt the fire within him. Her name was Queen Sheba. As soon as she docked along the Palestine seaport, she scooted into a luxury four-wheeler and galloped off to meet this charming king. The moment she set foot upon his doorstep, it was hook up at first sight. Was there any fireworks between them? Well now, let me see. Well, it certainly set off a whirlwind romance. He wined her, dined her, showered her with expensive gifts, and wooed her into the bedroom. This guy was desperate to shag up with her, and he did. But I bet at first she thought, this guy knows his tricks. But after about half an hour, he turned out to be a dud root. Nevertheless, she thought he would be useful for her political agenda. Her sex appeal was so hypnotically alluring to him that he almost forgot he had an empire to run. But she took advantage of his weakness and made a killing by negotiating a commercial trade deal that would set the world stage for an Arabian trade partnership. He was an entrepreneur itching to expand his global empire, but he needed to get a grip and be the iron-fisted ruler by not letting her sex appeal cloud his emotions. In the end, they both profited very handsomely and used his seaports all along the Palestine coast to go in search of this gold, and lots of it. This technology called ships gave him license to mine for gold anywhere in the world. His empire not only introduced a technology for imports and exports, but it also opened up his eyes to a commercial network by partnering with other foreign nations. He was a businessman and part-time politician. He was ambitious, assertive, and ego-driven. Nevertheless, he never let his eyes off the Queen of Sheba for 1 minute. She was his. You've got to remember, this is just a story, a folklore, a myth. It's pure fantasy, nothing more. But if it were true, he amassed a great fortune to become a property developer billionaire investing in public infrastructure like this. He didn't stop there. He also used his riches to build this temple in Jerusalem. Until this day, no one has excavated or even do one dig underneath this temple. It is forbidden. Why? We don't know. Was there an ancient gold mine buried underneath it? A gold vault, perhaps? Oh, this is every treasure hunter's wet dream. So, whether these gold mines do exist or not is yet to be known. For now, King Solomon's mine remains a mystery, like finding a missing person. Okay, so we're still on the search for Ophir. I know it's somewhere on this planet, and after much researching and scouring through online, I'm getting the hunch that it's pointing more towards down under. But I know you'd be yelling at the screen like a hyena chucking a tantrum, telling me it's Nubia. Settle, Petal. So, let's go for a little walk down to Nubia. Once upon a time ago, there was once a gold mine situated in the southern part of Egypt. It's called the Ancient Nubian Gold Mine. At first, it sounds like folklore, but it actually is for real. In a recent examination by ScienceDirect.com, a group of geologists conducted a study regarding the amount of gold that was mined between 3000 BC to 1350 AD at the end of the Arab gold production. They found around 250 gold mines within the region of Nubia. They did an extensive study on all 250 sites, including traces of extant mining such as stone mills, settlement, and mine shafts. Just to be clear, ancient mining operations were only small scale compared to the corporate industrial complex of mining today. Back then, the ancient miners had no means of finding the right gold mine using today's digital technology like mineral exploration of satellite imagery, geochemical, petrographical, and geophysical investigations to pinpoint a potential gold mine. And trust me, if you think the ancient Nubian miners were smart enough to use this, whilst they busted their chops for a few small nuggets and little to no pay, instead of using this and this heavy weight right here. So, don't jump to conclusions that it's ancient Nubia. It was all guesswork. The ancient prospectors were no experts at gold prospecting from pre-dynastic to Middle Kingdom times. Even in vast regions of Egypt and Nubian desert were difficult to find. The result after their investigation was quite dumbfounded. They concluded only small nuggets were mined, including gold flakes that flowed out to the river systems. Therefore, it is highly unlikely they would have found massive amounts of big gold nuggets like this one here to supply Egypt with an endless amount of gold jewelry for every royal dynastic empire. The myth was an exaggerated lie. So, let's scratch Nubia and Egypt off the list. You know, India. Don't get me started here. Yes, they did have gold mines. I know. Only small scale in Kola and Huti in the Karnataka, Russia district. No biggie, just stuck to rocks like quartz, and ancient miners spent long hours digging, hauling and shoveling dirt and rock in search of this sparkling ore. Primitive tools were used like this one over here, not the big heavyweights as I've shown you earlier, but they weren't shy of being inventive. A primitive technique called Fire setting was used by alternative heating and cooling. They also grinded the stones to crush the metal and extract the gold. These two, gold mines, was the economic lifeblood of India. It provided enough gold to keep their coffers in check. It was the country's prime asset. It was the only way the royals of the time could enjoy their sumptuous rewards at their slaves' expense. And they made commercial trade deals with the Arabian Peninsula, Egypt, and along the Mediterranean. But it doesn't justify Ophir. So, it's highly improbable that the ancient miners found huge amounts of gold nuggets on an industrial scale. So, scratch India off the list. Alright, other possibilities include Siberia, Eastern Europe like Georgia, China, Northern Europe, and so on. This means we have to find the big kahuna somewhere on the other side of the planet. How about Australia? I bet you knew I was coming to that. Well, surprise! Australia is an island with a shit ton of gold, and it's the potential hotspot to be Ophir. Funny I should mention Australia. If seafarers heard stories about Ophir being Australia, why not take the chance? And they did. It is possible that the ancient Aborigines may have traded with the ancient Egyptian and Phoenician seafarers by bartering their boomerangs, spears, and indigenous bush spices for gold. Ah, don't we love our juicy steak on the barbie? Delicious. Oh, back to Ophir. In my last video, I ended with a perplexing clue. Gold was imported to Israel, but from where? Ah, I'm glad you asked. Take a seat. It's going to be a spectacular ride. Now, I'll throw this one on the barbie. How about gold mining in Down Under during BC? I found a map, not just any scrappy old musty map, but this one. Take a good look at it. This interesting artifact called the Turin Papyrus map was discovered by Bernardino Drovetti 200 years ago. It was found from a private tomb in Deir el Medina near Luxor. What stands out from all other common maps is it shows a number of mining expeditions spanned across the globe. Is Australia one of them? It should be. If the Turin Papyrus does suggest Down Under in any way, shape or form, it means that someone else discovered this great South Island first. Just so you know, it was compiled by ancient Egyptian mariners, so examine it for yourself and see if you can spot Australia. So, the mining industry was booming in Egypt, conquering the world via their large-scale quarrying expedition. Their trade route from Thebes to Red Sea, Great Silk Road to China, Southeast Asia, Arabia and Horn of Africa. In time, this made Amenarchete, under the rule of King Ramses IV, filthy rich. But there are other world maps too, around Ramses and before his time, like Herodotus's map of 450 BC and the Crates of Melos in 239 BC, saw Down Under as Antosi. Take a look for yourself. Somehow, these Aussie shores were explored way before white man settled down here. But what about the Aborigines? Did they do business with the mariners of antiquity? Like I said, this ride is getting even more adventurous. Having fun? Allow me to recall the Gimpy pyramid video. Let me recap. Remember the story told by Kishkinda Kunda episode of Ramayana? Handsome sailors and merchants sailed to the east coast of Queensland. What do you think they were searching for? Gold. Not just any ordinary gold, a specific kind. But how pure is the gold here? How well refined and processed was it during ancient times? I'll get to that in a moment, but first, A number of plausible artifacts were found near the Gimpy pyramid, like the Vedic god Ganesha artifact, as you can see right here, made of bronze. A flower known in India as shalmali is grown in Queensland, known only as bombaxiba flower. Now, do yourself a favour. Once the decay is over and a new dawn has risen in Down Under, take a trip up to the Northern Territory. Visit the Kimberley region. It's the Aborigines' heritage playground. It contains an abundant source of life. It's astonishing. Yet, the Aborigines had a knack for land management, and we ought to give them credit for taking good care of this precious island. Through stories told by several Aboriginal tribes who traded with Chinese, Indonesian, Makasan and Filipinos. These seafarers had no intention to colonise, just to trade and do business. Have a good look at this picture right in front of you. There is something peculiarly, oddly fascinating. It's a rock hand drawing found in Arnhem Land in the NT. It depicts quite a large ship of some sort that contained a crew of 13 standing above and below deck, 6 masts, 4 sails and a massive rudder and accommodations below. Now, what sort of ship is it? Take a closer look. If it were a Makasan boat, it would have sloping triangular sails fastened to 1 and 3 masts, and a coiled rope tied to an anchor attached to the bow. It would contain within the bow of this ship a drogue stone to stabilise a vessel during heavy seas. Macassian boats never used one, nor did they have rudders. Could this be a Phoenician ship? Did the Aborigines mine gold? Yeah, they did do mining, but not gold exactly. But I'll get into that topic in a later video. Back to Gimpy, a picturesque postcard town. And they have gold mines up there. See this map for yourself. Many are still in operation. Were there any ancient gold mines in Gimpy region bolted up by the visitors thousands of years earlier? Look, let's not get hasty for a sec. Know this. Gold is soft, non-toxic and doesn't corrode. Get a large gold nugget, find a mallet and bash the hell out of it until you get a smooth gold foil sheet finish like this one right here. You can bash it, crush it, smelt it, and refine it into bullion. Extracting gold from a rock is time-consuming, dirty, and very dangerous. Today, it's chemically treated using diluted cyanide to remove the impurities. However, back in the ancient gold rush times, gold was taken in its natural form, hence no refining required. Thus, it would leave traces of impurities in the chemical composition of the gold. Now here's the beautiful part. And yes, you all well know what this is. Isn't he a spunk? Yes, the golden poster boy of King Tut the Nut. The opulent revhead equivalent to an Aussie bogan who enjoys revving up his Bombador engine whilst filling that long, hard gear stick and doing burnouts in his spare time, except Tut was revving a chariot. Back to his mask. The gold used to create this magnificent piece of sculptured artwork revealed a chemical composition of gold that matches the chemical composition of gold found in Gimpy. Gimpy was a gold mining industry. Many mines were hundreds of meters below the Earth's surface, but today many of them have been sealed off. Therefore, primitive techniques used in refining gold had left the impurities intact. It's a dead giveaway. Now, take a look at this photo. What do you see? Go on, look closer. Does that look to you like a Phoenician ship? It was carefully illustrated by John Green, a surveyor during the mid-1800s. Brett Green inherited these illustrations and kindly documented them in his video. So, gold mining operations, huh? Down under, in good old Queensland. Who would have thought? Mind you, these Phoenicians only did small-scale mining operations to extract two things: iron ore and gold in the Gimpy region. Feeling spun out? You shouldn't be. You've heard of Howard Carter, right? The infamous opening of King Tut's tomb in 1922? This will jog your memory. Whilst he searched the dim-lit interior of King Tut's tomb, he saw stuff. Lots of it. Neatly stacked like a run-down antique store filled with vintage thingamajigs. Once he began rummaging through the tomb/storage unit, he came across this: boomerangs, including Australian eucalyptus. The only true inventors of this unique hunting object belongs to the one and only Aboriginal people. Other tribes in California, Arizona, southern India, and ancient Egypt have mimicked this gizmo, but these found boomerangs were mostly used for hand-to-hand combat. They are non-returnable. Only Australian Aboriginals used boomerangs for the purpose of hunting for food such as birds. Now, these boomerangs found in King Tut's tomb were for him to hunt birds and mammals with in the afterlife. That's if he knew how to use one. I'll discuss this amazing find in a future video. This is just a teaser before the main course. But Gimpy isn't the only one. I just so happened to find a township situated not far from Orange, New South Wales, a tiny tot town called Ophir. This tiny tot town, surrounded by beautiful Australian bush landscape, made its mark on the world map. The first gold rush. Little did these live-wired prospectors would encounter these. Yes, you know what it is. The Aboriginal name for this town was called Drong Drong, meaning a shitload of snakes. And go figure why someone called Bozo the Clown just wanted to tag the name Ophir as an excuse to spice up a dying township. Does this have anything to do with the legendary King Solomon's mines and the biblical name Ophir? Well, as the people of Ophir town know, is that it was Australia's first gold rush, which began in 1849. Then, in 1851, Edward Hargraves backstabbed John Lister and William Tom by stealing credit for their gold nugget discovery. Then, these two stooges naively let Ed take small samples of the gold and did a show-and-tell segment for the Colonial Secretary. And the rat bastard Ed acclaimed notoriety and financial rewards instead of sharing it with Tom and Lister. Ed even got a red carpet invite to meet Queen Victoria. Some friend he turned out to be. Two-timing backstabber. Anyway, profanities aside, news travelled fast soon after. A 4,000 herd of Yahoo prospectors landed on our shores to do one thing: get rich quick. It was the gold scheme of the century, and the Ophir gold rush fever only lasted for 1 year. How sad. Today, you could say that Australia is the gold-mined Lady Luck of Ophir. Yes, we do have gold mines, and lots of them. But in the ancient times, seafarers' reaction to the gold fever frenzy was certainly a matched reaction to those during the 1850s. We have gold mines here. Financed by the big corporates, plenty gold mines are still in operation. 6 in New South Wales, 3 in Queensland, 7 in South Australia, 5 in Tasmania, 4 in Victoria, and the mother of all gold mines is none other than Western Australia. It has a whopping 37 gold mines, some in use, others decommissioned or abandoned. Now, Let me give you an idea how much weight in gold this country has. The biggest find of gold is not in Victoria or Queensland. It's in WA, in the Pilbara region in Telfer called Telfer Mine. They found 688,909 ounces of gold between 2009 to 2010. The second biggest find was in a town called Goldfields in Kambalda called St. Ives Gold Mine, and they found 428,300 ounces of gold. That is enough to clad more than 2 Egyptian pyramids. Western Australia has produced over 6.27 million troy ounces of gold, 6% of the world's production. The mother of all gold mines is none other than Boddington Gold Mine in 2009. They found a staggering 900,000 ounces of gold per year. It's worth over $10 billion. To conclude, Australia continues to dominate the world in gold. Yes, we sure do have lots of it and in huge quantities, but Australia does contain many more buried treasures than all the gold in King Solomon's palace. Seasonal trade visitations was a common occurrence for the Aborigines. They celebrated the trade deals through symbolism in ceremonies and storytelling. It didn't stop there. These trade deals continued for hundreds, even for thousands of years. It's like they left a photographic imprint on how these ancient Egyptians and Phoenicians and others arrived, traded, and left. Call it what you will. A cultural exchange program, rubbing shoulders with the best and the brightest, negotiating trade secrets, whatever. So, I'm going to call it Australia is Ophir. The evidence is in the pudding. But the spectacular sport of gold prospecting is not over until the fat lady sings. There is another one happening right now as I speak. It's the new digital gold rush, and it's giving many miners the fever. So get your shovels, boots on, and your keyboards wired up, cause there is going to be a mad frenzy heading its way, and it's coming real soon. So get cracking. Thank you for watching my 3-part series. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't fret, I'll be adding more bonus material on some of the thought-provoking information than you've just seen. This research will not end here. Yes, there is more, lots more. Australia has more hidden, mysterious goodies than you can ever dream of. That's all for now.